All righty, let's hear. All right, how we doing today, friends? It is Pluggo with Love Wrestling. I am joined today ahead of NWA's Hard Times 3 in New Orleans. Kamille, the NWA Women's Champion. How are you today, Kamille?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I am hanging in there. Hanging in there. Let's get it right out of the bat with the tough questions. I had an internal struggle all day with this question, right?
Okay.
How late is it too late to wish you a happy birthday? Your birthday was on the 24th. It's November 2nd.
It's too late. Too late now.
Too late. So the belated birthday, what is that window like?
3 days.
3 days. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Kamille says 3 days. So how soon before I can go early birthday?
A week.
A week.
Yes.
All right. So 3 days. So I'm well past the window of wishing you a happy birthday. I had to know. I didn't know because I thought that's such a gray area, but I figured why not ask you the hard hitting questions
that
here.
was a tough one right there.
I'm sorry if we have to stop the interview. Oh my goodness. I'm just coming out the gates hot. Anyway, we're not here necessarily to talk about birthdays, even though you just had one a couple weeks ago. We're here to talk about some wrestling, and just for the fans of Love Wrestling that may not get to know you, I've done some research a little bit and I've followed you since pretty much day one of Power. You're a day one participant. You are currently the 23rd ranked wrestler on the PWI Top 150 that dropped last week. How does that feel going from where you started in the NWA to now?
I mean, it is definitely interesting because when I started with the NWA, there was no plans to even get back into wrestling. And so about I'd say 8 months to a year in, Billy Corrigan was like, hey, we want to invest in you as a wrestler. And luckily at that point, I was kind of ready for that step because I had wrestled previously. And then, it's like if you've ever played a sport and then you become just a spectator of it, you're like, I wish I could get back in there and play,
Yeah.
And so I was missing it a little bit. And then when I became champion, I think I had only had 4 matches or so with the NWA at that point. And so, honestly, I was very nervous. Like, am I even ready to be a champion? Can I go from having squash matches to championship matches?
Right.
So it was a big deal. And then I just gained more confidence every match I went into. And now I'm at the point where, hell yeah, I'm the champion of it, and deservingly so. I think I'm a great representative for the NWA, and I'm super proud to hold a title that, has so much lineage behind it.
Yeah, which was going to be where I was kind of going to lead next with the question at the time. You said you had 4 matches and then you became champion. And I think we're sitting, 600 days, pretty close to 600 days now. I think it's you and Roman Reigns in terms of North American Championship title reigns at this point. And you've only had the 1 title reign. Speak on that a little bit. So that's and you're knocking out, like I say, the who's who of wrestler. You've fought them all and you've mowed them all down. So you're 600 days into this thing and it's only 1 title reign. So how does that feel?
Yeah, so I, in a promo back at Crockett Cup, I proclaimed myself the one-time champ, the forever champ. And that's, because lots of people, they'll say, oh, I'm the 9-time champ, the whatever champ. And I'm like, well, that just means you've lost it that amount of times, So so to me, I'm more proud of being a one-time champion and plan on never losing this thing. And so, it's something that every match I go into, I feel like I feel like it's a weird thing. Like the longer you have it, the more the every pay-per-view people are like, okay, now she's gonna lose now. She's gonna lose now, And so, but I kind of like that. Like, it's like, oh, when is this girl gonna lose? Yeah. So
I'm guilty of that, not particularly with you, because I think you're a badass. I'll just say it. I know that any chance you're in the ring with the title on the line there's a good chance you're going to take that thing home as I stumble over these words. So yeah, that kind of was like, so are we saying that multiple title reigns are overrated and the one is the longevity? Just, cause like you said, people look at the outsider, wrestling media fans say 16-time champ Ric Flair, right? Yeah. But did he hold it for 600 plus days? How many times, how many quick reigns? So, right. Are we saying it? Is that what we're saying?
Oh, that's exactly what I'm saying.
All right. I love it.
on the
You
record
heard,
here.
you heard it here first, man.
Yeah.
Long title reigns over multiple title reigns any day of the week. I'm with
Yep.
you. I am with you. So I already kind of touched base on, you're a day one NWA. You said there wasn't really any kind of like plan to get back in wrestling, but you did, and you are famously known in the NWA circle as your start was, Nick Aldis's heavy, if you will, or his muscle insurance policy, and you didn't speak for it feels like forever, right?
It was like
And that was
2 years.
right. Now, I know you've talked about it in other interviews, so I don't necessarily want to, rehash all that out, but I'd like to know, like, what is your mindset during that time frame? Are you going backstage going, Billy, I'm ready. Are you trusting that process? Are you saying, okay, just do what they need me to do, just stay in not in the shadows, because you were the main focal point of that storyline for such a long time of it?
Yeah, so I have always just sort of been, when it comes to wrestling and stuff, like, do as I'm told, do my job. I'm getting paid by a reason, so the boss will pay me, so I'll do as he says. But internally, after probably like the first year, I was just happy to be back in wrestling. Took a while off and just happy to be around it and doing it with my now husband. I was just happy to be there. But after a year, I was definitely getting the itch to talk. I was getting the itch to wrestle. And so I'm happy that Billy had that conversation that we want to best you in as a wrestler when he did, because it really was around the same time when I was getting that itch. And then behind the scenes, I was working with Thom in the ring and kind of getting the ring rust off and relearning a few things. And so that was going on behind the scenes, and no one knew that the plans were for me to wrestle. And I remember when tapings in Atlanta, my parents were there, and it kind of was bad timing because me and Thom had just gone to the UK to visit his family, and of course it's like a holiday, so we're around Christmas time, so we're like eating and enjoying, and I'm not
Oh yeah.
dieting or anything like that. And then I get a message from Billy saying, "Hey, we want you to have like a dark match." And I was like, "Oh shit," that's fine. But I came through the curtain as a special attraction match, and no one knew what was going on because like we didn't air it or anything like that. It was just a dark match. And I remember seeing my parents' face when I walked through the curtains. They were just like, "Oh," and I had to like hold it in because it made me want to cry. Like their excitement made me
Right.
want to cry. And just from there, and like I said, like then I had my 4 matches, and then I was told like, "Hey, we're gonna put this belt on you," and it was like, "Whoa, okay,
Right.
here we go." And then so it was, but like luckily that match was with Serena Deeb, who is just an awesome person.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, she's an awesome person. She's an awesome wrestler. She's such a professional, and like so that was a very special night for me.
So that's a testament to you to be able to hold that in, because your character was such a stoic figure
Yeah.
of just like, how do you not break in that moment? Like, I'm getting this opportunity. So just to kind of dive a little deeper into that. So when when I talk to a wrestler that maybe isn't a fantastic promo, right?
Hmm.
We talk about, all right, this is who I study, this is who I go to sort of like learn promo. Where do you go to learn facial expressions and just staying in the background and not speaking, right? Like, you don't see that very often in the wrestling
I
world, especially a female heavy
Yeah,
to a male counterpart. Where do you go to like get inspiration for that character alone?
nowhere.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
yeah,
there's
like
not a long list, I'm sure.
no, what helps is how every character is a natural kind of extension of yourself, at least like the best characters are. And I've always been told like, "Oh, before I met you, I thought you were gonna be such a bitch, or I thought like you were so mean, I thought you were so scary." And so I just kind of like held on to that part of me, that because when you don't talk to me and you don't have a conversation, I guess I can be quote unquote intimidating. So I was like, well, if I'm just quiet and I just make my little facials, and because I can make a lot of facials, then I was like, that's all I need. And so I just kind of went with it. And then as I would watch stuff back, learn from what I liked that I was doing, what I didn't like that I was doing, and go from there.
Yeah, because like as I said, watching him back, you're sitting there going like, you're making that storyline amplified by 10, going, did she just make a move? What was that facial expression? What was that move? Right. So like,
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, where does that come from? Because it's so fascinating, because you don't see that. I think obviously the name that comes to mind is China, when she did that with Triple H, but even they at that time gave her a lot more to do. You just had to stand in the background, and everybody knew at any moment you could get involved. Excuse me on there. So yeah, speaking of which, you worked with, you got to work very closely with Nick Aldis, and you mentioned your husband, Thom Lattimer, which I have to imagine that's got to be an interesting dynamic, the husband-wife thing. Are you guys pushing each other behind the scenes? Is there some kind of like friendly competition? Like, hey, I'm holding the Burke for 600 days. What are you doing? Or is it all love the way around?
No, not at all. Like, we're very much out of wrestling when we're not in it, if that makes any sense. Like, we like to keep our feet on the ground and be grounded and not really think about that. But I mean, wrestling is still a big part of our life. Obviously, it's how we make our living. Thom, he's a coach at a wrestling school here, so we're in the ring a lot together. And the only time there's a little bit of like butting heads is when we'll like roll around and he's trying to teach me something, just because it's like if you've ever had a parent coach you, there's sort of that, like, you don't want to listen to your parent, but you'll listen to someone else say the exact same thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And so it's just kind of like, there, but I have to try to be like, okay, he's helping, because it's like, because I guess I'm so, so especially like when he watches my matches and I want critiques from him, it's much harder to hear a critique from him than say like Jerry Lynn, because I'm not in love with Jerry Lynn, so his opinion doesn't like hurt my feelings, whereas like my husband's opinion is, my feelings get a little more hurt, so that's the only time where it makes it like a little tough.
Oh, I could resonate there. I actually, in the shoot world, work with my wife, and I can tell you, it's just different vibes when it comes from your spouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's all love. I love that. I find the I don't want to, the quote unquote wrestling power couple dynamic just so much fun and interesting on how that would work at home. But not to get too personal, get too far off of things. You did mention a little bit, in past interviews, as we get deeper, and we're going to talk about this match coming up, and I think this kind of ties into some of the things that your opponents, I'm sorry. You've talked about your reign and how you had 4 matches in and you won the belt, and then you had naysayers like were coming out of the woodwork saying, she's not ready, this, that, and the other. And how do you deal with that from a performer standpoint? Because we all want to be liked in this, whatever avenue we're in. And then you had those people that were doubting you, but your resume, as I could rattle it off, speaks for itself. I mean, you've mowed down the likes of a Thunder Rosa, Taya Valkyrie, Kira Hogan. Just, I could go on and on for days with so how do you cope with that, or how do you deal with that going forward?
I just use it to make myself want to get better and better. But I also do keep in mind, like, we could really deep dive into this, but we're not gonna. But a lot of people that have something to say, first of all, they've never actually wrestled, so they have no right to. They have a right to have an opinion, but they don't know what it takes to be a wrestler, right? And then I think that I was also in more of a hard position than most people, because I did come from, even though I was like the muscle, people still see it as a valet type of role. So it's like, well, who are you to now be a wrestler? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think that there was already people that had like doubts there, just because I came from being that silent, like ballet-ish role. So I had to overcome that. And then I also realized, like, at the end of the day, my boss is the one paying me. If he's happy with everything, if he's happy with my matches, that's the only opinion that I care about.
Right.
None of these other people are paying my bills. So when I come through the curtain and I get like, he's clapping and he's smiling and he's happy, I'm happy. Of course I watch it back, and like I'm more hard on myself than anybody else can possibly be, because you got to think, when I watch my matches back, who am I watching? I'm watching me only. So like, when you're watching a match, you're watching the whole thing. So you might not notice these little things that when I watch back, I notice every little thing. So it drives me crazy, right? So I think as long as like I keep wanting to get better and I keep wanting to continue to like improve and work on things and like add new things to my resume, and my boss stays happy, that's what matters.
Oh, absolutely. I can't agree with that more, because again, like you said it, I think that the whole wrestling world, that has that whole kind of like everybody, likes to dump on things that they don't like. Well, you're not putting yourself out there and you're not trying. So it's a
Right.
tough, I get it. I respect that 100%. Like I said, like your resume, if for people that don't know, like I said, I could go all day, and we'll kind of go with there. Now we'll get into that NWA title run. You've defended that thing all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we're 600 days in. Where would you like, if you could, take that NWA, the Burke, and where would you like to take it next? Like, what heights do you see it going? Is there a particular maybe promotion you want to see it defended in, or a person you'd like to defend it against?
Well, I'm defending it as long as I still have it after Hard Times 3, which is the intention, and that's of course, going into it, that's all I think is gonna happen.
Of
So I
course.
speak it into existence, and I'll be in the UK in December, and so I'll be defending it there. I have recently done some work with AAA. I would love to defend the NWA title within AAA. I think that'd be something that's super cool. And yeah, as far as like Forbidden Door type of things, I don't really have an eye out on like a opponent, just because with the Forbidden Door you don't know if it can happen for sure. But like someone like Jade Cargill, I know like that's a match that everyone wants to see, Kamille versus Jade Cargill, and not who knows if it will be for my title or not, but she has a title too, so maybe title for title. There's
Oh,
there's there's lots of options out there, and as much as I like to go with the flow, I still would like to get more eyes on the NWA. So I think being able to take the title to different places is a way to do that.
right on, right on. Jade Cargill versus Kamille. Tony Khan, Billy Corgan, if you're watching, let's book that. Let's get it done. Let's make it happen, friends. Okay. You mentioned Hard Times 3. Let's get into it. I don't want to keep you too long, and I know that's why we're here. I appreciate you letting me just geek out a little bit and ask you a bunch of questions. But your opponents, KiLynn King and Chelsea Green, you've beaten both of them.
Right.
So my question to that is, you've already beaten both of them. You already know each one of their skill sets. But now it's a triple threat, and it wasn't at first, and Chelsea kind of made her way into this match. How do you prepare for that, knowing that anything can happen in a triple threat? Maybe an alliance happens between you and KiLynn. Maybe Chelsea and KiLynn are coming at you because you've got the Burke. What changes in your mindset heading into that?
I mean, really, truly, there's no way to prepare for it other than just keep doing what I always do to prepare for a regular match, and realize that I just have to be more aware. If I get hurt a little bit, I can't take a bunch of time to recoup or anything like that, because something else could be happening between them, and then someone's going for a pin, and then you know what I mean. So it's
Right.
just like I don't have to be pinned to lose. So that's the biggest kind of thing there. Oh baby, you're messing me up.
Uh-oh.
No, sorry, he just walked in the room, so my thoughts were like,
How's it going, Tom?
he's already back out. He's already back out.
Oh, bye, Tom. That's okay. I'm running
But
all the
no,
time over here.
but they're both great competitors in their own way. Like KiLynn's super hard hitting and tough, and then Chelsea, she's just sneaky. Like she makes it happen.
Yeah.
So it's just going in there knowing, hey, I've had a triple threat versus Kylie Ray and Chelsea at Crockett Cup. So it's like I've been there, I've had that experience, and I came out on top, so I can do it again. And just I think having confidence in yourself is a really big deal going into this type of match.
Oh, 100%. And the factor of Chelsea Green is interesting to me, because like KiLynn King, she came to NWA, she's made a name for herself in a lot of ways. She's done it the right way, so to speak, in terms of
Yeah.
what people would say. She's worked her way up that card, and Chelsea and Matt essentially came in and put the NWA on notice as
Mm-hmm.
a day one, NWA power. You've been there, you're the champ. Like, how does that, is there a point of pride where it's like, I gotta beat this and keep the NWA in the hands of us, the originals, and not this just hotshot couple that came in and are just trying to upheaval everything?
Yeah, no, there is definitely a sense of that for sure. I definitely feel like, when it comes to the locker room, when it comes to everything, that I am like an OG, so
Right.
I want to keep things a certain way. And I do think that, and don't get me wrong, do not get me wrong. If Chelsea were to have the title, she has a great following. A lot of people know who Chelsea Green is. She would have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of eyes on it. But it's also like, is your heart really there with the NWA? Whereas my heart is full blood, full on NWA. So there is definitely a part of that plays into it.
Oh, I think this match is going to be fantastic, Kamille. I'm looking forward to it. Before I get you out of here, I know that you came from a football background, a sports background. Do you have a team that you are currently rooting for mid-season? Like, who do you go to for the football?
Oh my gosh. So growing up, always watched sports. It was like on TV all the time. I had my teams on like every single sport, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm married to Thom, who could not care less about any sport ever. And we don't have cable. So I don't watch sports ever.
Oh, really? Wow. So
Yeah.
from all the time to nothing. Interesting.
Yeah, it went from like 100 to 0 real quick. And it just
So who were the teams growing up that you were all about?
I actually worked for the Durham Bulls, which was Tampa Bay's minor league team. So for baseball, I love the Tampa Bay Rays.
Okay, and, I'm a Rays guy.
Yeah, but then I also worked for the Texas Rangers when I lived in Texas. So like I know a little bit about the Rangers. I like to kind of keep to see. Like that's the thing is like I'll see on social media like who's doing what, but I don't actually watch any games. And then the Carolina Panther. There you go.
There we go. If you would have told me, I got a Rangers hat upstairs too.
And then the Carolina Panthers for my football team because I'm a Carolina girl. So the Panthers. And then basketball, I never really super had a team. When I lived in Dallas, I went to a lot of Mavs games. So, I mean, maybe the Mavs, but yeah.
They're doing pretty good. Cool. If I would have known, I would have worn my Panthers jersey, which I've got upstairs. No joke. My Rangers stuff. I mean, shoot. But Kamille, I've taken up plenty of your time. It was super fun to get to talk to you a little bit, get to go to your background, let the Love Wrestling fans, get to know you a little bit more ahead of Hard Times 3, like we said, NWA's one of your like big events. I love the Hard Times pay-per-view. Happened in November 12th or 13th. Did I have that right?
It's 12th and the 13th is also a show as well. So,
that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure I had it right. Before I get you out of here, let the people know where they can find you and stay up to date with what you've got going on in the wrestling world and across whatever you're doing in life. Because it seems like you're a busy person.
Yes, so I'm the most active on my Instagram, which is at Kamille Brickhouse. And then, of course, there's a Twitter as well. That's at Kamille_Brick. And then, of course, follow the NWA on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So you can watch all the episodes of NWA Power and NWA USA, figure out what's going on, just to see not only what am I doing, but what is the NWA doing.
Awesome. And as always, you guys all know where you can find me, Pluggo, right here. Love Wrestling, doing my big things every Thursday night on Between Two Beards with JPJ. And you just find me on Twitter right there at Pluggo_. But until next time, friends, we're out. Peace.
Yeah.